Welcome and thank you for joining us for this episode of the Crexi Podcast, an insider's look at all things commercial real estate. In this show, we cover a broad range of topics that both cater to commercial real estate newcomers and industry leaders alike. I'm your host, Yannis Papadakis at Crexi, a comprehensive digital commercial real estate platform designed to empower commercial real estate professionals with the tools they need to discover and transact property. Today, we are thrilled to discuss the current landscape of commercial real estate with Tim Blair of Shannon Waltchack. Blair leads the firm's commercial real estate preservation fund, which is focused on purchasing neighborhood centers in affluent communities with necessity-based service tenants. A veteran real estate professional, Blair has been in the industry for more than 25 years and has served as a principal at Shannon Waltchack since 2010. He currently serves on CCIM Institute's National Board of Directors and is currently the CCIM Institute's 2021 Global President. In addition, Blair was the 2017 National Association of Realtors Commercial Advocate of the Year and is also a life member of the Birmingham Association of Realtors Commercial $1 Million Sales Club. Blair received his bachelor's degree from Colorado College and his MBA from University of Virginia's Darden School of Business. Blair is actively involved in multiple local nonprofits, having most recently served as chairman of the board for the Birmingham Metro YMCA Association of 2019 and 2020. Tim, welcome to the podcast. Let's dive in. So let's do it. So we read your bio, but will you walk us through your commercial real estate journey? How did you first get started and become interested in the industry?
Real estate for me is a second career, as it is with a lot of folks. So I had previously bought a company out of bankruptcy, turned it around, sold it, and it was a base hit. I got it with my skin intact and a little jingle in my pocket, and I knew I never wanted to do that again. Yeah, that was flat out hard work. So I was looking for something that combined both kind of a people side, sales, if you will, with financial and an analytical side to it, because I wanted to combine those two. And so it was a very intentional choice to get into real estate because it kind of played on both of those skill sets that I wanted to kind of scratch those itches, if you will. But then also the third thing that adds into it is it's a great vehicle for building wealth as you go forward. So those were the three reasons that I kind of intentionally entered this industry.
Nice. And what would you say are some lessons that you learned early on that you think have served you well in commercial real estate?
Well, best advice I got was, and I knew I wanted to kind of partake in ownership. That was kind of the reason I was getting into this. And a buddy of mine, we're having lunch at a Mexican restaurant. I can do it now, and he's been quite successful. And he was just like, Blair, you want to get dirt under your fingernails. I know you want to own property, and I know you want to build a portfolio, but you just need to go flog real estate for a couple of years and get dirt under your fingernails. And I think that was the best advice I got. I hooked up with a family company who had about 800,000 square foot portfolio, and I just flogged their deals for them for a couple of years, and it was great training. I think they were pleased with it. I was pleased with it, but it really just it set the stage for whatever else you wanted to do after that. And I tell that to our young guns who come in now, because these guys come in and women come in and I want to be a specialist and I want to do this and I want to do that. I'm like, no, what you want to do is you want to get dirt under your fingernails. You tell me what, you go ahead and start diamond cutting in 2 or 3 years. But for the first couple of years, you just do deals and learn how this industry works. Once you understand that, we can start to kind of figure out where to from here.
Get into the trenches, start making some noise.
Yeah, totally. Another thing that sticks with me is the phrase you earn your living through brokerage, you build your wealth through ownership. That was something that was told to me early on, and it really stuck with me. Another fellow here in Birmingham who runs a company called South Pace, and he said that kind of early on when I was thinking about getting into this industry, and it really stuck with me. You earn your living through brokerage and what you come in every day, and by flogging real estate and getting your fingernails dirty and all that stuff, you build wealth through the ownership side. So to me, that has been just a pearl of wisdom.
Excellent. Well, how did you end up at Shannon Waltchack, and what are some of your favorite things about working as a partner there?
Well, I was working for Sloss Real Estate, this family-owned operation, about 800,000, maybe 1 million square feet. And it was just a fabulous opportunity. And but then I knew I was going to want to go on my own one day. And so in 2008, I left Sloss and started to room with Lynn Shannon and Derek Waltchack. I rented an office in this little office space that they had. And because the other pearl that this same guy gave me is, Blair, you want to hang around people that are doing what you want to do. If you want to, if you want to do industrial, if you want to do Class A leasing in Class A office towers, go to some place that has a bunch of brokers that do that. If you want to be somebody who's going to buy real estate and work on your portfolio, go hang with people that do that. That really was another very kind of spot on comment that I carried with me. So coming out of Sloss, I wanted to be with people that were doing what I wanted to do. And so Lynn and Derek were about 2 or 3 years ahead of me on this path. I went and officed with them, and the Great Recession happened. Literally, we're all sitting around. Today I'm going to move the yellow pencils from the left side of my desk to the right side of my desk, and then tomorrow I'm going to move them back to the other side. We got a lot of wakeboarding in. We spent a lot of time at the lake, and we did start to do some deals together. And then about 2 years later, we realized we were kind of essentially doing everything together. So we formally partnered up to create Shannon Waltchack, which is 4 partners, equal owners. Fast forward 10 years. We own probably 2.4 million square feet. We manage about 3.5 million square feet. We have, low 30 number of employees. And so we now look like just a much more of a kind of a traditional real estate company. The core, the ethos of what we do is we like to put deals together.
Nice. And I take it that that's still something that's exciting for you in the business today.
Very exciting. And one other thing that is, I never thought, and it's going to sound a little hooky, and I apologize. You hear that old saying, love what you do and you never work another day in your life.
Yep.
And I come from a coal mining family where work was not fun. At coal mine, you work because they call it work for a reason. Okay. And it's not fun. It's not family. It's work. That's where you go and you get dirty. So there's that ethos, that comment. And I have to say, truly, I have stumbled into a partnership in an industry that I love. And this partnership that is 4 of us, we are very, very different folks, but I think we each understand that we have stumbled into this relationship where the sum, or the whole, is greater than the sum of its parts. And so we have been able to, over the last decade, put together north of 100 deals. We just, it's just been a fabulous partnership. They are probably some of my best friends. And so anyway, that has just made my whole real estate journey a unique event that honestly, I never saw coming.
That's excellent. So moving on a little bit, let's talk more about CCIM, what it is and what it offers brokers.
Alabama, my local CCIM has 50, all the states around the world. We have 52 local chapters around the country. And Alabama, which I'm from Birmingham, we have a very active chapter here in Birmingham.
And first off, for those listeners that might be unfamiliar, what is CCIM?
CCIM is the Certified Commercial Investment Member, and it is an education-driven organization that we teach you the fundamentals of real estate. And so anybody who's new into the industry, there is zero reason you should not pursue your CCIM designation. At a minimum, take our classes. You have to meet some performance criteria also. But it is, the beauty of it is we take topics, very kind of timeless topics about, IRR, NPV, how to compare different, lease versus own analysis, things like that. And we teach them not by academics, but by practitioners. We have an instructor cadre, is how we refer to them, of 80 plus folks who are all real estate practitioners. These are folks just like me who buckle their chin strap every day and earn their living in commercial real estate. And they teach these classes around the country. And so you have an ability to learn about our industry, specific. How do I analyze and evaluate properties and real estate deals from people who are doing it every single day? And that is our special sauce. And I say, without hesitation, we are the pinnacle of education in the commercial real estate world.
Absolutely. Now, give me a little bit of a history lesson here. When was CCIM founded, and what has its history been?
What was the last part of your question? I'm sorry.
What has its history been? I mean, I'm sure with, a lot of changes coming to commercial real estate now, an organization like yours must be absolutely invaluable since, tech is really starting to make its way into the commercial real estate business. How has that kind of evolved over time, compared to when it started?
Yep. So CCIM is over 50 years old, and we are one of 5 affiliates, if you will, of the National Association of Realtors, or NAR. And they are a 1.5 million, that's with a million, member organization, and they are a behemoth. In fact, NAR is the second largest lobbying organization on the Hill, which, if you're in real estate, whether you're residential or commercial, that matters. That counts. So we are part of their commercial designation arm, if you will. And there are 3, there are those. And so what CCIM represents, the education arm of that. Now, you ask about change. Best kind of analogy I can give is there was, you think about when you're looking at homes, you're driving past, you want to see, so you look on Zillow or realtor.com, or one of these things to learn about a house. So the information has become much more of a commodity. 20 years ago, if I was a good broker, I was hoarding all the information. Information was power. If you have to go through me if you want to find out what the comps were and that kind of stuff. Well, information has become much more of a commodity, and good practitioners are more of counselors now than anything else. They help you evaluate the data, and they show you ways that you can use this data to make your life or your decision better. And that's the trick. That's the transformation that is occurring, is to teach people how to be counselors, not just information merchants.
Excellent. Well, talking about some of the things that your members and students are benefiting from, what are some of the skill sets that CCIM teaches its members and students?
The core thing that we teach, and I wrote it down, and I'll read it, and then I'll try to read it again, so that it's so that you can use it on your podcast and it doesn't look like I'm reading it. Because it is the ability to analyze and evaluate a deal dispassionately and take into account a broad range of variables like IRR, NPV, and just other ways of looking at comparing real estate deals. So really, what we are doing, CCIM just teaches the ability and the way to evaluate and analyze real estate. And that is crucial whether you want to be a good broker, whether you want to be an owner, whether you want to be a loan underwriter, no matter what you want to do. The ability to dispassionately tear a deal apart, evaluate it, and then put it back together again is the first step, no matter what you're going to do.
So what does it mean to be a member of CCIM?
Well, CCIM to me means 3 things. First, it means that it's just like I mentioned earlier, it's the pinnacle of education in our industry. And that's important because in our industry, it's still almost an apprentice-esque industry. Like brokers, you learn how to be a broker from another broker. And so it's a very inefficient method of onboarding people. So to have CCIM be able to educate you with practitioners is really saying something, and to do it well is saying something even a little bit more. So one is it is the pinnacle of education in the commercial real estate industry. Second, it's about community. CCIM is 60% of our members then turn around and become fairly actively engaged in their local chapters. And I will point to myself as an example. I got my CCIM turned around and engaged in my local chapter. As I look back 15 years later, 20 years later, I cannot differentiate between my commercial real estate experiences and my CCIM experiences. They are just so intertwined that CCIM has provided me a community of peers, of people to bounce deals off of people to make sure I'm doing something right, people to hold me accountable if I'm doing something wrong. So that sense of community is just crucial. So CCIM is quality of education, sense of community, and then lastly, the letters after my name, and when I see CCIM after somebody's name, it says they take their chosen craft seriously. Only 6 to 8% of commercial practitioners are CCIMs. And what it says to me, they care enough to distance themselves from the pack.
That's awesome. How did you first become involved with CCIM and work your way up to your role as the president?
Local level, you say, hey, can I help out? And they go, yeah. And so, you join your local board because, again, this is your sense of community. I mean, where does it sound you look forward to your monthly meetings? Because it's you and 15 of your favorite buddies, guys and gals, getting together, having a cup of coffee, talking about this common bond that you all have, which is commercial real estate. And while you're doing it, you talk about the deals you have going on. You probably have something going on with somebody at the table. And so it very much at a local level, worked my way up through the board, became president of the Alabama chapter. And then through virtue of that, you start to attend the national meetings. And the same thing happens all over again. You meet these people from North Carolina or from California or and you go, so you start to have the whole conversation again with a different group of people. And so then you work your way through that. And I over the years, you work your way up. And then, at some point you think, well, gosh, golly, gee whiz, maybe I can be president. And then, next thing you know, there you are.
So speaking of being president, what are some of your goals as the CCIM president?
Well, COVID certainly changed a lot of things.
Right.
But no, the goal is you want to protect, and you want to focus in new directions. So you want to jointly make sure that you are preserving the quality and the other stuff that is there that needs preservation. But yet you also want to push the boundaries. You want to constantly be poking, prodding. Where should we be growing? What is it that we're not doing that we should be doing? So some of my initiatives for this year, for example, are that we are developing 10 new courses. We've got 2 piloted right now that can be taught at the local level. So we're going to produce a series of we call them ward center classes. Those are where our classes that are available to anybody. They're 1 to 3 hours long, ballpark, that anybody can take. And so we're developing some of these ward center classes to be taught at the local level, at the chapter level. So we're doing some things like that to just kind of help build our membership.
And, I noticed you're already very fluent with Zoom, and I'm sure that must have tied in with the last year of pandemic and offering resources and education to brokers. How do we adapt to this new reality that is this COVID pandemic? What other things would you say that recently have come through as important to share with the members as they kind of need to adapt with, the changing landscape of how business is done?
Well, it's a good question. And the truth is, it's fairly obvious. I think we're going to live in a more virtual world. And you can't force it. You can't say you want it to be this or that. It's going to kind of be what it's going to be. And so I hear, so we're having requests to have virtual meetings now more than ever. And so it's a different filter now to say, well, can you, do you really have to come here or do you really have to come there when we could just plug you in virtually? I think business will also have that exact same thing, in that we can broaden our reach dramatically. And we can also not just broaden your reach, but you can probably improve the quality of your services. Because I can have a face-to-face conversation with you like you and I are doing now, so much easier. I don't have to fly all the way to California, take 3 days out of my life, and do that. We're going to have to do that sometimes, but I think there's going to be this new way of doing it. Now, in the real estate world, one of the things, different ways things adapt. This isn't really kind of what you asked, but I'm going to kind of go off in a direction if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
It's kind of how has COVID impacted real estate? And different subsets or different sectors have been impacted different ways. Office, I've heard from multiple people, will probably ultimately have around a 15% contraction. So that as office renewals come back up, office users will start to contract, or they'll vacate out of this building and consolidate over to that building. As a building owner, you just hope that contraction happens in somebody else's building. But the truth is that office market will, it's not going to be gutted. It's not going to be ruined. There will be a slight contraction to it. Retail, I think power centers, all that happened with power centers is an underlying trend got accelerated. So that Amazon and that whole thing, that was already out there and we all knew it. It just got ratcheted up a degree or two during COVID. And so what's happening in the power center space is just an acceleration of an underlying trend. Then you have industrial, which just absolutely took off. I mean, just stuff is trading for more 6 months or 8 months into COVID than it was pre-COVID. And the same could be true for multifamily. So those two product sectors, I think, went through COVID fairly well. And then where we spend in our space a lot of our time with is unanchored strip centers, and it's in retail, but actually we the neighborhood centers in wealthy neighborhoods did surprisingly well. And so some sectors of retail got slaughtered, some did just fine.
What are you hearing now from your members in terms of businesses opening up? Is it looking pretty? Do you feel like we're on the other side of it?
Yes. Some of it's going to be regional and situational. Actually, a lot of it, all of it's going to be regional and situation, because real estate by definition tends to be local, right. And so it's a very kind of localized business. Some areas of the country were decimated. If you talk about tourism and New Orleans and Orlando and Las Vegas, just gutted. But you go to other places in the country, and I'm surprised, but a significant number of our brokers had their best year ever last year. And that, those two things coexist. So there's no empirical overall answer. But some people had their business drop by 40%. Some people had an average year, and then some people knocked it out of the park.
I'm interested to hear you elaborate a little bit on what you were saying before about trying to get more of the younger generation in commercial real estate involved. What does that look like?
Well, a couple of things. One is on the brokerage side, we are a commission-based business. And so there's lots of other ways. You can go to work for a developer, you could work for a bank, you could do some other ways, or maybe you can come into our industry in a salary position. But for the broker side of the equation, you're going to come in as a commission-based thing. And that's not, that weeds out a lot of folks just coming out of the gate. I know if old Tim could talk to young Tim, I would say, yo, you should really consider this. Look at it as a filter of the people, the slackers, and if you think you can make it through it, if you make it to the other side of a commission world after 2 years, you've self-selected. Those first 2 years are by far the hardest, but once you make it through, you can actually have quite a nice life on the backside. So I would tell my young self to seriously consider it, because if you can make the cut, there's quite a nice life on the other side. The other thing would be that, what was the question again?
Getting the younger generation of brokers kind of engaged and taking part.
Well, it is a huge, huge issue for our industry. And it's part of the reason that we were talking with last week. I got together with leadership of SAR and IREM. For us specifically, one of the topics we specifically talked about was how to engage next gen. And it is, you can talk about whether they're not joiners or anything, but anytime you kind of start to overlay those broad generalizations, I think you've probably started to go down the wrong path. But what we need to do is we need to let people know that you can make a great living in this industry, that our information, our education, and then you have IREM and SOR also are there to help you succeed in this industry, and that you should lean into it. And that there's a group here that wants to help. Number 3 is that we are an aging industry. If somebody could evaluate the fact that we're a bunch of old white guys and we're all going to die off soon, and that somebody's got to step into the void and help with this, they would realize that actually there is quite a nice runway out there for somebody to come in and help pick up. So that's the reality. We are working on diversity programs. We're working on next gen programs. And I was on a conversation this morning where we talked about our next gen program for probably half hour, 45 minutes. And, how do we take it and we can juice it and we can make it really, really appeal.
Can you talk a little bit about the CCIM Foundation and the work that it's been doing?
Totally cool stuff. Totally. Okay, so the CCIM Foundation has been set up and it's been out there for years. And one of the best things that the foundation does is that we provide, 150 scholarships for around the country. At these, we provide them at the chapter level. It's not a centralized thing. It's all organized and provided at the chapter level, but we're behind it all, matching, organizing the funds. So with these scholarships, if you want to, take one of our classes, you can apply at the chapter level, and you stand a pretty good shot of getting a significant amount of your tuition paid. So that's been the traditional role that the foundation has played. We have recently started our Veteran Scholarship Program, and it's still in its evolutionary phase, but we have now offered, and we are reviewing applications for people who are coming out of the Army or any of our military services. We will provide a scholarship for them to go through all of our classes as a second career. And so this is something that we are super excited about. And it is something that does two things. One is, I think it's a real chance for us to give back, and to give back to people who need it and deserve it. Secondly, it's a great program that we can scale, because I think it's a program that people can get around, companies can get around, and we can help really do something good. So that's the foundation. 5 years from now, I would love to look back and see this veterans program has just exponentially grown.
That's exciting. Can you speak a little bit about CCIM and Crexi's partnership?
Oh, that's what we have. CCIM we're an education-based organization. So everybody comes through the door by getting an education. But like me, I stuck around for the membership and my sense of community and my local belonging, my ability and my want to connect with other CCIMs. So the Crexi CCIM partnership is a move to deepen those ties amongst us via the Crexi platform. And so it is a platform where CCIMs can share information about all the properties, all the listings, all of the listings will tend to, the for lease listings will probably tend to have more of a local appeal. The for sale properties will have more of a national appeal. But Crexi is providing the platform for us to dramatically improve our ability for CCIMs to share information with one another. And we are quite excited about it.
As are we. Now, after your term and continuing on the national board, what sort of legacy and opportunities do you want to leave behind for the next generation of brokers?
Something that's important. I don't know if it's a legacy I want to leave behind, but here's something I think we need to remember, that we are in a service-based industry, and deep down, the more people we help, the better we do. Now, CCIM teaches you how to do it efficiently, dispassionately, analytically, but so many times, I've been guilty of it myself. You say, oh, it's just a 1,200-foot retail tenant. Give it to the young gun, they'll go take care of it. Oh, it's just a 3,000-foot office user. The truth is, to that 1,200-foot tenant that's leasing that retail space, that's their life dream. They've been saving for 10 years to open up this store. And their hope and their aspiration is that their kids are doing homework in the back storeroom while they're busy up front creating their dream. That 3,000-foot office user, that's just 3,000 feet. That is, to the office manager, that's how they earn their living every day. For the people that show up, it's how they're going to put their kids through school. And so we touch people, we hit way above our weight classes in industry. We really do. And so that's what I think makes our industry so special, and why I love being in it, and why, and honestly, I've loved being part of a national leadership of one of our organizations, because I do get to promote that special aspect of our industry and our ability to truly help a broad swath of our country.
Wow. It's there's a saying, presidents aren't selected based on what they know, it's how they communicate. and you've inspired me. So I can absolutely see why you are in the seat that you are in. So we're getting to the end of our talk track here, but I did want to ask you, if you have any words of wisdom for aspiring brokers or longtime industry colleagues, any final thoughts or requests or advice you want to share with the audience?
I would say I love real estate because you can build wealth through it. I mean, that is just the thing that is always I've just loved about it is you can, and I'm going to come back to what I led off with initially, earn your living through brokerage, build your wealth through ownership. And because of that, our industry is truly unique and it offers just such a broad array of opportunity for people if they want to step up and embrace it.
Wow. Well, thank you for joining us and sharing your insights, especially on such important topics. We really appreciate your time today. I know you're very busy, so thank you for taking the morning to sit down with us. Where can people find you online if they want to get in touch? Email, social media?
Yep. Tim Blair, the name is Shannon Waltchack out of Birmingham, Alabama. It's a funky name. I've always found it to be a great benefit because it's just offbeat enough. People go, it's that kind of weird name, two-name thing. Shannon Waltchack, Birmingham, Alabama. Orange is our color. So tb@shanwalt.com. tb@shanwalt.com. That would be by far the best way to reach me. Or CCIM. I'm listed on the CCIM page for sure also.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Tim. And thanks to everyone who tuned in today. If you enjoyed this episode, do not miss the next one. Visit go.crexi.com/podcast and sign up to get the next episode delivered straight to your inbox. Of course, you can also subscribe to the Crexi Podcast on your favorite podcast app and check out our YouTube channel for video recordings of each episode. Take care and be sure to tune in next time.